Should one of the world's poorest countries be allowed to exploit those fossil fuels in order to keep much of its population alive? That's the case being made by South Sudan. It's the world's newest country, having declared independence from the rest of Sudan in 2011. But natural disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic have hampered economic growth, and more than 3/4 of its population depend on aid. South Sudan has the third biggest oil reserves in sub-Saharan Africa, and its government is looking for investment to exploit them. I've been speaking to South Sudan's Petroleum Minister Pot Kang Chol about why he believes that should be allowed to happen.
Our focus is so much on developing what we have at hand, and what we have at hand at the moment is the fossil fuel. We are cognizant of the fact that the world is transiting from fossil fuel to a clean and greener energy. We are not opposed to that. We are for it. But we are saying there is need for us to develop the fossil fuel, because that is the only thing that we have at hand at the moment, so that it allows us to be able to develop other sources of energy, like power sources.
Right, so you see it as a stepping stone into more renewable energies, because you have hydro
Absolutely.
maybe and
Absolutely.
solar.
We use it as a catalyst for development of other sectors.
Yeah.
And that is the only stepping stone that we have at the moment. And that's why we are here to say, for those of you who are outside there who have the resources, who have what it takes, come help us develop these resources at hand, so that we move with the world together when the world is transiting.
Right, we'll come into the justification of it for later, but for people who don't know South Sudan, I think it's about 2/3 of your country are living in poverty, so they rely on humanitarian assistance. So the need for development, the need for money is great in your country.
That is very true. That is very true. Our budget, as I'm talking to you, the budget is in Parliament. It depends on oil by 85%. Meaning we have to develop it more, we have to produce more, so that we meet the daily needs of our people.
Is
yes,
oil
that
keeping
is very
people,
true.
Yeah, is oil keeping people alive?
It's the oil that is keeping our people alive. And as I speak to you, you rightly put it, most of our people depend on aids that come from other taxpayers. We as a government, we wanted to take care of our own people. And the only way to do that is for us to develop fossil fuel, so that we generate money from it and go into other sources, other sectors like agriculture.
But South Sudan is being affected by climate change. You've had floods, you've had extreme weather. You know the damage that too much use of oil and gas is doing, and yet you say you need to exploit more of it when you can feel the damage.
That is quite true, but let me also come from this angle. The world is transiting from the use of fossil fuel for those who have used it. We have to use it. Our contribution is zero. We are not saying that we are not being affected, but we are saying for us to be able to transit, we will need to have resources at hand. And the only resource that we have in our hand today is fossil fuel. What we are asking from the rest of the world is to say, you have the money, come help us invest in the production of our oil by using the right technology. And one of the reasons why I'm in the UK is to say we can use the right technology so that we produce oil and venture into other sources of energy.
I can't stand here in my position and say, you shouldn't do this when lots of your countrymen and women are living in poverty. I can see that it's essential, but I also feel the difficulty in sort of saying, oh, we'll just use oil for a bit. It's a sort of necessary evil, you're saying, before we transition.
I wouldn't say it's necessary evil. If you come to Africa, it's not only necessary, it's more than necessary. Because the whole continent, as I speak to you, is still in darkness, somehow. And we are not blind, we are not saying that we don't see the impact or the negative impact of it. But we are saying, which death comes first? Which death is more lovely? Is it you dying of poverty, or you dying because of climate change, whatever it causes? Death is death at the end of the day. So how do we get there?
Do you sometimes think that organisations or individuals who say that you shouldn't develop your oil, that it's another form of colonialism, it's another form of us in Europe telling you in Africa what to do?
I'm ready to negotiate with anybody that is saying, don't produce. We know the estimate of what we have. If someone somewhere is ready to pay us off, we will be more than happy. And in fact, our president will be ready to say, keep it under the ground, because all we need is money to change the life of our people. And if somebody is willing to give us that money, we will be willing to let it go. But remember, we are not saying that we should not transition. We are saying the transition must be just, must be equitable, and must be inclusive. What does it mean? It must be just because it must be justifiable to my people. To me and my people, it must be justifiable to them.